I do love the game of Go. Ancient yet timeless. Simple yet deep. You can spend just 10 minutes to learn the rules, and yet it would take decades to get even close to mastery. One of the big differences between the Western art of strategy called chess and Go is that in chess, you can move the pieces more than once. If you drop your knight into a position and the other guy puts a piece to threaten it, you can possibly jump it out. In Go, once a piece is set, it stays there. It can be surrounded and captured by the enemy, but you can't move it after that. Now, recently, Ron Collins has been trying to act tough from behind the safety of his computer. He has been in a state of humiliation ever since he met me in Kentucky. And instead of the 4 guys that he brought along fighting for him, they stood aside and say, "It's up to you, Ron." Instead of actually getting on the mat with me, he turned and fled in terror, threatening to sue me. He refused to fight me, saying instead that he would much rather take me out in a court of law. Well, anyways, since early June, he's been making noises about coming out and seeing me to fight me at my home where my family sleeps. Now, no one's taking him seriously. He's always backed out, ducked, and made excuses for things like this. If he were to show up, it would be serious, legally speaking, for him. And of course, he had the chance in Kentucky, and he turned and ran. Case in point, the lawsuit. It's been months, and nobody's been served with papers. Oh, he went out and he filled out some forms, and he's put them up on his blog just to show I'm doing something. And whenever anybody wants to challenge him or anything like that, his excuse is, I'm busy with the lawsuit, go away. That's his excuse for not getting on the mat with other people. So yeah, it's just an excuse, and of course he's a coward and a bully, and bullies try to press things. And he wants me to worry about my family and showing up. Well, if he did show up, I would take it very seriously, but nobody thinks he's going to stay, come out here. He's going to stay in West Virginia and just make as much noise and try to tear me down from behind the safety of his computer as he can. Now, Ron's been using a lot of different cases of logic to try to explain why he can't do anything but show up on my doorstep. When he made the blog, he didn't realize I'd already scheduled a seminar out in Maryland, which is a lot closer to him, in August. He's trying to say that I set the seminar up after he made the blog. If you look on my timeline on Facebook, the first announcement is May 18th. Yeah, May 18th was the first time that the seminar in Maryland was made public. He probably just didn't see it, or if he did, he's trying to pretend he didn't. So, he's making excuses why he's not going to see me in Maryland. He has to show up here. Nobody expects him to show up in Maryland because, if he tries anything with me, well, we all know he's not going to win, period. But he wants me to worry about my family. He wants to make me sweat because he can't do anything other than that. He can't beat me up. He doesn't want to face me, blah, blah, blah. He can't sue me because he'd lose there too. But it's kind of interesting, the latest bit of logic that he used for why he can't show up at the Maryland seminar and has to show up here where my family sleeps and do violence. He recently just said that it was all ninja mind control that he did on everyone else. Because as soon as he started saying that he's showing up at my house, people have been telling him the basic rule. The challenge party gets to choose the time, place, and rules. That's just a standard thing. If you challenge someone, you don't get to set the rules. You don't get to set the place and time. It's a challenge party that gets to set those things. And everyone's been telling him that. So he said that there was all a ninja mind control, and he was just waiting for everyone to say that that's the thing. The challenge party is the one that gets to choose a time and place, etc. So he's now saying that when we faced each other, and I was on the mat ready to go, and he eventually just turned around and ran, he says that I made a slip of the tongue, and he admits it was a slip of the tongue. He says, if he accepts. So he's saying that that's a challenge, and as the challenge party, he gets to choose a time and place, and it's going to be here in Colorado, in my home, where my family sleeps. Oh. So it's really obvious that he wants to make me think that he's going to show up at my house, and he doesn't have to show up at the Maryland seminar at all. There's a few flaws in that logic. 3 things that I'm going to point out in delicious detail. First of all, everyone admits it was a slip of the tongue. Not intentional if it would have happened. I don't think anyone's going to hold that against me. You see, if you think that I only study Bunjikan when I was in Japan, you're mistaken. There's a lot of opportunities to study other arts. And a lot of koru, older styles, they have rules against challenging people. Some of them even have rules against accepting challenges. But most of them basically say that you can't go out and start challenging people to fights. You can accept them sometimes, but you can't challenge them. I'm not worried that any of my teachers in Japan would look at what I said in the moment as a slip of the tongue and hold it against me. And I don't think the law would basically give any leeway to Ron if he shows up here unannounced on my doorstep. I think the law would be on my side. 2, if you watch the video when I make that slip of the tongue, as I said, Ron refuses to fight me. He flat out says he will not fight me. He says he's going to go for a court of law. So he refused to fight me, supposedly after I accepted him. Okay. So it seems now that he's saying that even if he refused at the time, or if he was challenged, and he now gets to go back and set the time, place, and rules. Okay, well, that seems kind of strange since he didn't want to do it there. But here's the thing. Prior to our first meeting and that slip of the tongue, Ron challenged me. It wasn't a slip of the tongue on his part. He put in his blog several times that he was challenging me. Of course, he was very cagey. He was saying it had to be on neutral ground, but he wouldn't say where. He kept trying to say it was, my responsibility to find a place, in a place I'd never been at. But he did challenge me first. Now, I didn't accept his challenge, but, if he's saying now that people can go back and accept the challenge later on, then his challenge to me was prior to my slip of the tongue. So that means that I get to choose the time, place, and the rules. And as such, I am saying that any fight that he wants to go through with me will happen in August in Maryland at the seminar during the last 2 hours on Sunday, or not at all. Now, I stood there. I looked in Ron's eye. I saw the pure look of terror in his eyes. So I'm betting not at all. But in any case, he no longer has another excuse to show up at my doorstep where my family is. He can instead come to Maryland and face me there.